और इस बीच विदेश सचिव एस जयशंकर कुछ कह रहे हैं, सीधे सुनते हैं।
Very important juncture where there are possibilities of moving forward again was felt yesterday by President Xi, who actually quoted Chairman Mao about 10,000 years being too long, and he said, "Seize the day, seize the hour." So there is that sense on both sides at the leadership level that it is possible for the two countries to do more, that the opportunities are there. Yes, we have issues and we must address those issues, but that should not lead us to neglect the possibilities and the opportunities we have. Now, in terms of the bilateral political, security, defense cluster of issues, there was a fair amount of discussion on the border and on strengthening peace and tranquility on the border. There was an agreement that we should expand the number of border BPMs, the border personnel meeting points. At the moment, we have 4 BPMs in operation. One in Bumla in the eastern sector, in Nathula in the Sikkim sector, Chushul in the western sector, and Kibutu Damai, which was opened recently, in the eastern sector. So we'll be looking in the near future to expand the number of BPMs. There was also a sense that the frequency and the context in which these meetings took place could be increased, expanded, that both sides would work to implement existing agreements, and that the leaderships will pay close attention to the border situation. On the defense side, again there was a agreement that there should be more exchanges and interactions, and the Vice Chairman of the Central Military Commission would be visiting India. Raksha Mantri has been invited to visit China, and there was an initiative that in our military-to-military cooperation we should focus on HADR, humanitarian assistance and disaster relief, so we would be discussing the possibility that between the two militaries now this becomes a subject for a joint activity or an exercise. There's also an agreement to activate hotline between the military headquarters of the two countries. In terms of the political level visits, an important visit that we are expecting soon is from the Chairman of the National People's Congress, Chang De-jiang, whom Prime Minister will be meeting soon. So that was the incoming political visit that we are looking at immediately. Moving on, counter-terrorism featured strongly. I think I shared with some of you yesterday that Kabul and Karachi came up in the conversation. So again, the sense that this was a shared threat for both countries and that we needed to work more closely. A new element this time in the visit was the leaders of the regions. So we've created a forum for leaders of regions. The first meeting of that forum took place. As many of you are aware, some chief ministers and mayors are here. And this is in keeping with the government's emphasis on cooperative federalism. Another important development was that we institutionalized a practice between the International Department of the Communist Party and the Ministry of External Affairs. We used to organize visits of chief ministers and party leaders, provincial party leaders. In fact, Prime Minister himself came to China on one of those invitations. So we today signed an agreement. We signed agreement for a sister state relationship to sister city relationships. So as you can see, the federal, provincial, regional aspect of our cooperation is gathering ground. We also agreed to open an additional consulate. The Chinese will do so in Chennai, we will do so in Chengdu. Again, that reflects the sort of a more intense, a more broad-based relationship which requires more servicing in a sense on both sides. That broadly was the political defense security side. On the economic side, and we now use this term close developmental partnership, I think the most important takeaway today was an agreement that we would set up a high-powered task force which will look at economic issues, which will look at the trade deficit, look at IT issues, look at pharma issues, agriculture issues, manufacturing issues. There was a fair amount of discussion on what the problems were, what could be done. It was a fairly specific discussion in some cases. Some of it took place yesterday with President Xi, some of it in greater detail took place today with Premier Li. We are also, in this context, I would flag, we would be the partner country, the guest of honor at the China South Asia Expo this year in Kunming. There was some discussion on in the investment climate and ease of doing business, and review of the proposals to establish industrial parks in India. One is in Maharashtra, one is in Gujarat. An agreement was signed in skills development with institution in Gujarat. There was a smart city exchange. We'll be doing exchanges of pilot projects.
विदेश सचिव एस जयशंकर को आप सुन रहे थे, जिनका कहना है सीमा विवाद पर तो विस्तार से बात हुई, आतंकवाद को लेकर भी अच्छी बातचीत हुई और दोनों देशों ने माना कि आतंकवाद दोनों के लिए बराबर का खतरा है और साफ तौर पर उन्होंने कहा कि काबुल और कराची को लेकर बात हुई है। छोटे से ब्रेक